Hello guys, I am Vishnu, and as the antimicrobial stewardship series continues, this is part 5 video of antimicrobial drug of choice. So as I said in before videos, you can also check our playlist. We have 4 other previous videos in which we have explained about different drug of choices. So when we are talking about sleeping sickness, so sleeping sickness is also known as African trypanosomiasis. So this is on the right hand side, you can see there is a parasite. So this is actually very dangerous, but it is not common in our country. But at the same time, it doesn't mean, as I said in previous videos, that we should not know. So African trypanosomiasis is also known as sleeping sickness. It has been a major cause of morbidity and mortality in African countries. It is caused by Trypanosoma brucei rhodesiensis or Trypanosoma brucei gambians. So these are the two different parasites, which are the causative organisms. And this is actually carried by a vector, which is known as tsetse fly. So this tsetse fly is also responsible for Kala Azar, which is also known as visceral leishmaniasis. So this tsetse fly is very dangerous. Now, we have to, when we choose the drug of choice, it depends on the nature of infection. So the nature of infection is divided into two, whether it is West African trypanosomiasis or whether it is East African trypanosomiasis. And again, each of the West and the East is divided into early stage and late stages respectively. So if it is West African trypanosomiasis, in the early stage, we give pentamidine, and in the late stage, the drug of choice is eflornithine. If it is East African trypanosomiasis, then on the early stage, we give suramin, and in the late stage, the drug of choice is melarsoprol. So sleeping sickness is usually caused by Trypanosoma species. So these are the different drug of choices. Now we come to scabies. Scabies, as you know very well, it's a very common condition, which is very common everywhere. It is a itchy skin condition. Actually, in this condition, what happens? The organism starts making burrows into our skin, and then it becomes very itchy and a very uncomfortable dermatological condition. It is caused by Sarcoptes scabiei. So that is why the name is scabies. In this condition, the drug of choice can be permethrin cream, 5% concentration, and we can use ivermectin also, which is given systemically. Now let's come to very common organism that is almost prevalent everywhere. Staphylococcus infections. So if it is Staphylococcus infections, so first we have to understand which is the condition, what is the condition or what is the nature of Staphylococcus infection. It is divided into 4. We have non-penicillinase producing, we have penicillinase producing, we have MRSA, and we have VRSA. Now, if we talk about non-penicillinase producing, first of all, we have to understand what penicillinase is. So wherever you hear an enzyme that ends with ASE, so somewhere we can understand that it has to deal with breakdown. So penicillinase means it is an enzyme that breaks down the penicillin. So if it is a non-penicillinase producing Staphylococcus, which is not very common nowadays, then the drug of choice is penicillin G. But if it is a penicillinase producing Staphylococcus, then the drug of choice is penicillinase resistant penicillin. So in that condition, we can give oxacillin or cloxacillin or dicloxacillin. If it is MRSA infection, that is methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, which is very common, we can give vancomycin. Always remember, if you are suffering from MRSA infection, we cannot give any beta-lactam antibiotic. Whether already you know that beta-lactams are classified into 4. We have penicillins, we have cephalosporins, we have monobactams, and we have carbapenems. If MRSA is detected, we can't use any of this. But there is an exception. We can use 5th generation cephalosporins. If you know very well, there are 5 generations of cephalosporins. The newest is the 5th generation. For example, ceftaroline fosamil, ceftobiprole, and ceftolozane. So they are effective against MRSA. But since it is not available everywhere, in MRSA infections, usually the drug of choice is vancomycin. And now let's come to VRSA. VRSA conditions, it means vancomycin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. So in that condition, the drug of choice becomes daptomycin. In some conditions, linezolid can also be given for VRSA, and daptomycin can also be preferred. Now we come to syphilis. Syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease. It is caused by an organism known as Treponema pallidum. Treponema comes under spirochete. So this is also a very dangerous disease. We have a few range of dangerous sexually transmitted disease, in which the most dangerous is HIV, obviously. Syphilis is also a very highly dangerous. It has to be treated promptly. The drug of choice depends on the stage of syphilis. So we have different stages of syphilis. We'll come to that in future videos or something when we talk about individual sexually transmitted diseases. So if you are having syphilis and there is no CNS manifestation, if you are having syphilis and there is no CNS involvement, the drug of choice is benzathine penicillin G. But if you are having syphilis and the organism has attacked your CNS also, so it is known as neurosyphilis. In that condition, the drug of choice is aqueous penicillin G. So this we have to understand. Depending on the stage of syphilis, we have to decide which is the best antibiotic to be used. If we come to anaerobic infections, anaerobic from the name itself, you can understand these are those kind of organisms which can survive even in the lack of oxygen, even in the absence of oxygen. So it depends on what kind of infection it is. So we have two types of anaerobic infections. One is supradiaphragmatic infections and one is infradiaphragmatic infections. So if it is supradiaphragmatic infections, the causative organism or the causative anaerobic organism is Prevotella, and the drug of choice is clindamycin. Please remember about clindamycin. There is very interesting fact. Clindamycin has a high risk of causing Clostridium difficile associated diarrhea. So if any person is suffering from Clostridium difficile induced diarrhea, which I have already explained in previous videos, you can check out in the playlist of our channel. So clindamycin should not be used in such cases. In infradiaphragmatic infections, it is usually caused by bacteroids. In that condition, the antimicrobial of choice is metronidazole. And there is another interesting fact about metronidazole. Even in diabetic foot infections also, metronidazole may be used. The reason is it has good activity against anaerobic organisms. And clindamycin also has a good role to play. Now we come to toxoplasmosis, also known as toxoplasma. It's caused by Toxoplasma gondii. That's the organism. So first we have to understand what is the condition of the patient, whether the patient is pregnant or not. So if it is toxoplasmosis in a general scenario where the patient, especially obviously a female, is not pregnant, then the antimicrobial of choice is a combination sulfadiazine plus pyrimethamine. And if toxoplasmosis happens in pregnancy, then the antimicrobial of choice will be spiramycin. So actually sulfadiazine, pyrimethamine, they are very dangerous if they are used in pregnancy. So a safer alternative will be spiramycin. Now if we come to the drug of choice for typhoid infections, so typhoid is very common nowadays, and especially it happens due to improper unsanitary conditions. So it's usually a foodborne, waterborne disease. But at the same time, it's very dangerous, although it is very common. In severe cases, your intestine may get completely damaged. So we have to be very careful. So typhoid is usually of two types. We have the original typhoid and we have paratyphoid also. paratyphoid is caused by Salmonella paratyphi, and typhoid is caused by Salmonella typhi. So if you want to give a medication parenterally, the drug of choice will be ceftriaxone, because ceftriaxone is a third generation parenteral cephalosporin. But if it is a milder case of typhoid and we can manage with an oral antibiotic, then the drug of choice can be cefixime. So parenteral we usually consider in cases in which the patient is hospitalized and the patient is having severe typhoid. So obviously we'll go for parenteral, because whenever we give any medication through the parenteral route, the onset of action will be more rapid and the bioavailability will also be high. But if it is a manageable condition, which can be orally treated, in that condition, we may go for cefixime. Now, this is the last topic that we will cover in this video. It's a drug of choice for Whipple disease. So it's very rare bacterial infection. It usually affects the joints and the digestive system. It is caused by an organism known as Tropherema whipplei. And again, it's very, very rare. So the drug of choice can include ceftriaxone and carbapenems. So this is also not very common nowadays, but if it enters into your body, definitely we'll have to get it treated. So the drug of choice is ceftriaxone or carbapenems. Carbapenems means we can use meropenem, imipenem, etc., depending on the patient's condition. So that's it for this part 5 video. We'll come with part 6, part 7, etc. in future videos. Thank you so much to all who have subscribed and who have actually viewed our videos. We are working hard for you, so please support us in our cause. If you have any feedback to give, or if you have anything that can help in us making better videos, then definitely do suggest your recommendations. We'll definitely consider it. Thank you so much for viewing this. See you tomorrow. Bye.